The Curse of the Piano. In the suburbs of Savannah, Georgia, within an old wooden house perched along the riverbank, sat a decrepit piano, proudly displayed in the corner of the parlor. The piano once belonged to a woman named Clara Belmont, a gifted pianist from the 19th century. Clara died suddenly during a performance in her home, right in the middle of her favorite piece, Moonlight Sonata. Local lore tells of her furious outburst moments before her death, accusing her lover of betrayal. The music abruptly ceased, interrupted by a sharp, jarring sound, like the snapping of piano strings. Neighbors claimed that after Clara's death, anyone who touched the piano met with misfortune. A young musician once bought the piano and brought it home. On the very first night, he awoke to the sound of music wafting from the parlor. As he entered, he saw the piano keys moving on their own, playing Moonlight Sonata. Terrified, he quickly sold the piano to an antique shop. From there, it exchanged hands many times, but tales of its eerie melodies and the misfortunes it brought never ceased. The piano's final owner was a music student named Emily Carter. Skeptical of the ghostly rumors, Emily decided to keep the piano as her instrument to practice for an upcoming recital. That night, as she played her first piece on the piano, Emily took a deep breath. The flickering candlelight cast shadows across the room, one of which belonged to the old piano. But the shadow, strangely, didn't match the piano's shape. It resembled a woman hunched over, fingers gliding across invisible keys. As Emily began playing Moonlight Sonata, the notes sounded smooth yet unsettlingly distant, as if someone else was playing from far away. Frowning, she stopped and glanced down at the keys. A small red stain, like blood, seeped from the wood of the piano. Emily tried to steady her nerves, but the howling wind through the old windows startled her. One of the candles blew out. Pale moonlight filtered through the curtains, casting the piano's shadow larger than before. The shadow loomed over Emily, as though it might consume her. The following evening, Emily resolved to investigate the piano. Sitting down, she opened the piano's lid and gasped. Inside, tucked into a crevice, was a handwritten letter, yellowed with age. The ink was smudged, but the words were still legible. I am Clara Belmont. This piano was everything to me, and it is also the reason I lost everything. The one I loved betrayed me, ruining my life here. If you touch this piano, know that you will hear my cries. You will feel the pain I endured. Emily's hands trembled as she set the letter down. Glancing at the mirror across the room, her breath hitched. Instead of her own reflection, she saw a woman in a white gown, her face blank and one side obscured by tangled hair. The woman sat at the piano, fingers ghosting over the keys, but no sound emerged. Emily screamed, whipping around, but no one was there. The room was empty save for her and the piano. The next night, unable to bear it any longer, Emily decided to destroy the piano. She set it ablaze. Flames roared, consuming the instrument, but instead of the crackling of wood, she heard a woman's agonized screams. Horrified, she backed away, but something worse happened. The piano remained intact, completely untouched by the fire. Emily collapsed to her knees. From deep within the piano came a whisper, "You will never escape me." The windows burst open, and a freezing wind rushed in. Emily fainted. The following morning, neighbors heard faint strains of piano music emanating from Emily's house during the night. They knocked on her door, but no one answered. A week later, she was nowhere to be found. When authorities entered the home, it was empty, save for the piano standing in the middle of the parlor, its keys stained with dried blood. The piano was later sold at an auction. A small note accompanied it. Once owned by Clara Belmont, a talented but tragic pianist. This piano has a strange history, and no one keeps it for long. The new buyer, a collector, smiled as he signed the paperwork. That night, Moonlight Sonata played once again, haunting anyone curious enough to listen.